Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why Antonio Brown might be catching up to one of the all-time greats.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why Jerry West, a little crazy to say Magic had nothing to do with landing LeBron. Speak for yourself starts now. Got to go after Jerry West. I don't like to do that, Jason.
You mean a little accurate? Is that what you meant to say? Not a little crazy, a little accurate. All right, hello and welcome. We're joined today by longtime NFL coach Rob Ryan and former Pro Bowl safety Mark Carrier. Let's start in Canton, Ohio, where the Hall of Fame has decided not to mention Terrell Owens at next month's induction ceremony after T.O. made a huge deal of not showing up to the event. According to the Hall of Fame Executive Director Joe Horrigan, Owens won't be acknowledged at the ceremony because, quote, there's no reason to bring him up as an individual. He's not here. Cowherd, you okay with the Hall of Fame doing this?
No, it's too petty. Listen, rock and roll stars, Marlon Brando didn't show up for the Oscars. You acknowledge their presence. I have no problem with a rock star or an athlete being a diva. I'd prefer they aren't. But rock stars and wide receivers have been divas. You have to be above that as an institution. That's why we have governments and regulations and, you know, the SEC and grown-ups, boards, commissions. They have to be above the pettiness of an individual.
They also have to stay on brand, and we have to remember what the brand of an athlete is as opposed to a rock star. Athletes are supposed to be role models, and I know we've gone away from that, but that is the original position of athletes throughout history as role models. Rock stars have never been role models. They've been divas and drug users and a bunch of other things and entertainers, and so I go back and forth on this. They are stooping a bit to T.O.'s level, but I don't blame them because they have some serious regrets. These voters made a mistake putting Terrell Owens in the Hall of Fame. He's not worthy because of exactly what we're seeing here. He was a bad teammate, and he's being a bad teammate now to Randy Moss, Ray Lewis, the other guys going in the Hall of Fame in this class. He's taking attention away from them and placing it singularly on him. T.O.'s on brand. I don't mind the Hall of Fame saying, you know what, you don't want us, we don't want you either.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. It's like he just doesn't get it. He's being put in the Hall of Fame. This is a team sport. Football is the greatest team sport there is. You have all these individuals playing, 11 guys at one time, and functioning as one unit. But this guy makes it all about himself. I think it's a disgrace. Look, one of the biggest pride things there is, I'm sure, for an athlete is to get put in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things in my life was being a part of Aeneas Williams getting into the Hall of Fame and being called out as somebody that helped him get to where he was. That made me feel so good. It made my, just so much pride in you because you feel great. You work your whole life for a compliment like that in front of everybody, the national stage, the Hall of Fame speech. I mean, it's outstanding. This guy doesn't deserve it. It's a shame. He's as productive as he is, but numbers only say so much. How about the character of the person? How about the character of his teammates, the guys that made him so great? It's a disappointing thing, and it's disappointing to all the people that actually got him there, that helped him get there, that you don't even go to this wonderful thing. And I can't wait to go to Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi's. I saw Saps. I mean, it's something as a coach you're proud of, but I can only imagine as people, your teammates, are even that much more proud because they're that much more deserving.
I agree because I was just invited by Ray Lewis to his Hall of Fame, which was almost brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
I had the good fortune of being around 7 Hall of Famers a couple days ago, 2 of them wide receiver Hall of Famers. And to a man, they were upset, they were mad, they were disappointed. But I agree with Colin I agree with why the Hall of Fame is doing what they're doing. Just don't even mention it publicly, that you just go ahead and do it and don't get down to the dirt with T.O.
You know, we know football has a history that, your quarterbacks are generally pretty regal and your defensive players can be a little crazy. They got to blow stuff up. And wide receivers are the NBA players of the NFL. Kind of on an island, individual artists can be diva. That's part of the, singers and songwriters make the Music Hall of Fame. Producers, directors, and rock stars, is that it's okay that the Football Hall of Fame has the regal quarterback, the stately general manager, the brilliant, innovative coach, and the diva wide receiver.
he's not the first wide receiver to go.
That's correct.
And everybody else that has gone and represented everyone else and represented their family and all the people that went there. Look, I'm a bit sympathetic because there is a cost to getting into the Hall of Fame that I don't think T.O. can afford. And I don't know if he has support from an individual team because again, it can cost, for the Hall of Fame to do it right, it can cost you up to $500,000. And teams normally carry the weight for that. Looking at what the Hall of Fame is doing, though, makes me think they're aware that there was some support for T.O. If he had come, they were going to help him with the cost. I think this, to me, speaks to we're only getting a tiny bit of the headache T.O. has been for the Hall of Fame since he got inducted. I think that his class going in with him, I think they're offended and deservedly so. And I think the guys that are already there, if I'm Howie Long, if I'm Jerry Rice, if I'm Jim Brown, if I'm Deacon Jones, if I'm any of the...
Anthony Miller.
You're not showing up?
Yeah.
You're not showing up? We're welcoming you into the greatest fraternity in all of sports?
What's his argument? I mean, that he didn't get in. There's only been, out of 27 receivers, there's only been 6 that got in on the first shot. So what? I mean, and Randy Moss is one of those 6. So he's hurt that he wasn't the first in the first time out.
Yeah.
Because
I
there's
got
only
news
been
for him. He can't hold Randy Moss's jock.
Exactly,
I mean,
but there's only been 6 out of 27. Man, just be happy you're in.
Hi, I'm Alexi Lawless. I used to play soccer back in the 1900s for the U.S. Now you can find me talking about soccer this summer during the World Cup on Fox. Now through July 15th, you can get daily FIFA World Cup updates from me through your Alexa-enabled device. Just say, Alexa, play the Fox Sports Flash Briefing, and you'll get the latest tournament news straight from Russia. Alexa and Alexi. Now that's a winning team. Don't forget to watch the 2018 FIFA World Cup all tournament long live on Fox and FS1.
Panthers are hoping for a big year out of Cam Newton after bringing in Norv Turner to revamp their offense. Turner says his goal is to eliminate the peaks and valleys from Cam's game. Good luck. He's definitely got those, going from MVP in 2015 to among the league's worst in completion percentage. Touchdowns, interception ratio, yards per attempt, passer rating in the 2 seasons since. Whitlock, make or break year for Cam and the Panthers?
No, it's really not. And it's not because I think Cam's going to have this remarkable season, although I think Norv Turner gives me hope and optimism. But I just don't think they have a backup plan to Cam Newton. And so I think it's make or break for Ron Rivera. He'll be the scapegoat if Cam performs poorly, and they'll say we got to get a different head coach in here. But for that franchise, when you say the Carolina Panthers, it's hard. Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly, that's about as far as deep as I can go into Thomas Davis, but he's been hurt. He's such an integral part of that franchise and the face of the franchise. They're not giving up on Cam Newton after this season. They'll fire the head coach and come in and try to sell a revamped version of the Panthers with Cam Newton. I don't think it's make or break for him.
I do. I think it's make or break in the building. When you lose the building, when I used to work at ESPN, there was an old saying, when a show got greenlit, a new show, it didn't matter if the audience loved it. The building had to buy it. Remember I did Sports Nation?
Yeah.
If the building buys it, you're good. The building is split on Cam. He's high maintenance, he's needy, he's not a precise thrower. Norv Turner makes every quarterback instantly better. We have numbers, what Norv Turner does. If Norv Turner comes in, and he has turned around guys instantly.
Alex Smith.
Bradford, Alex Aikman. And I mean year one. He comes into that building, and Cam is still roller coaster Cam. The 50% that buys Cam loses their argument because nobody gets more excuses than Cam. Well, it's the O-line. By the way, has Aaron Rodgers had a legitimate running game in 8 years? He's never had back-to-back winning seasons. I have it pretty well sourced last few years in Carolina. The building split. And a lot of people are out on Cam. Norv comes in, and Cam doesn't get better. I think he loses a chunk of the 50% in his corner.
Wow. I, as a coordinator against this guy, he was a one-man show. I mean, Greg Olson's a fantastic tight end, But this guy is a special player. He's a special athlete. He's a special competitor. Look, no one runs the ball inside the 8-yard line. Guess what? He's going to run it, and he's going to run your starting linebacker over. I mean, I love this kid as a competitor. I love what he's got to work with. Look, Norv, like you say, is one of the best that's ever been. He's going to make this guy a superstar. He really is. He is tremendous. This kid, he throws the ball down the field all the time. He doesn't little dink and dunk, and, oh, his percentages are down. Yeah, because he's throwing the thing 20 yards down the field when everybody else is hitting the check down. I mean, and his check down is him. His feet are his check down. He takes off running with it.
If it doesn't work, do they stay the course with Cam?
I think absolutely. Look, this is a franchise quarterback.
No, quick. I mean, he lost Olsen. They traded away Bunches. Olsen's 1,000-yard, one of the best tight ends of the game. They traded away Benjamin, who almost had a 1,000-yard year before where they went to the playoffs. He was their leading rusher, where the year before Stewart was their leading rusher. I mean, there's factors that go into why, and I kind of agree with Robbo. Inside the 10-yard line, forget it. This guy is number one, and their offense is based off of that. They lost pieces to that puzzle, and that's why they suffered.
By the way, Aaron Rodgers loses Jordy Nelson. Jared Cook. Want to bet this year Aaron Rodgers throws for 36 touchdowns and 7 interceptions and completes 68%? Every quarterback in this league, how many people has Brady lost? How many people did Aikman lose? The reality is, you know what Cam is? He's a 1984
Those are
quarterback.
3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Like, this guy's a little...
Well, everybody tells me
he's... Well, he's cut differently. Yeah. He uses half his thing are his feet.
Yeah, but
besides just his arm.
But he's beat up now. He's like Big Ben. He's dinged.
So. I don't know if
he had the most rushing attempts last year than he's ever had.
I think they're trying to get him out of that.
I think he's trying to win. I think the kid's a winner, and I think the kid puts it on himself to win.
He needs help.
But everybody, honestly, ask yourself this. What quarterback outside of Big Ben doesn't need help? Big Ben's got 2 great receivers, a great back. Every quarterback needs help.
Sure.
I mean, Matt Ryan's got a great cast. Big Ben's got a great cast. This morning, Aaron Rodgers could go, this is 7 years with no running game. You won't keep my top receivers and tight ends. Tom Brady. They let everybody go. He's now got Edelman's out for, I think the argument that Cam needs more, every quarterback not named Big Ben and Matt Ryan needs more.
But I don't think anybody's mentioned that he needs more, really.
I just need the guy healthy.
Yeah.
Look, I think you have an authentic point.
Right.
The position, though, is will they give up on him?
No.
And we're all saying no because there's so much there.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying to you.
Here's
what I'm saying to you. They're not going to trade him.
No.
What I'm saying is, if Norv doesn't work, he'll lose the building. And people inside the building, owner GM, will privately say, this is not going to work.
Okay, but the only option there isn't just trading. That what you're saying is they're going to go after a quarterback in the next draft.
Yes.
High in the draft. I'm not sure if they're going to do that. Again, there is so much talent there with Cam. People are reluctant to give up on. There's always a coach out there. Rob Ryan right now is going, man, I never coached on the offense, but you give me Cam.
I'll make him great, I promise.
I'll make it great. There's always going to be that coach. Norv Turner's right now running into that burning building like, I got a baby to save, and when I get that baby out of that fire, it's going to be awesome. There'll be another coach, a head coach, or someone else saying that.
Franchise tomorrow you can start. Is he in your top 5?
No, but
top 10.
I'm not sure, but if I'm an offensive coach, it's just like what happened with him when he got to Auburn and he made Gus Malzahn look like the greatest thing in the world. When a few years ago he had Carolina in the Super Bowl and winning a bunch of games in a row. Cam Newton is capable of covering up a whole litany of shortcomings. And NFL teams have shortcomings because of the salary cap, because of injuries and whatever. Cam can fix a lot of problems. And he can also create some with his inaccuracy and not throwing on time, but he also fixes a lot of problems, and that's what coaches are looking for. Because you can't just draw everything up. Sometimes you need guys out on the field to make you look smart. Cam can occasionally do that. He can make you look dumb, too.
Welcome back. Rob Ryan, Mark Carrion return. Let's move to Tampa, where Jameis Winston will start the season suspended for 3 games over allegations of sexual assault made by an Uber driver a couple years back. Jameis has had several incidents dating back to his time at Florida State. But now Randy Moss says he's taken Winston under his wing and that the quarterback is making progress.
He's doing things right, then a bump in the road. He's doing something right, then a bump in the road. Man, just continue to fight. It happens. You know what I'm saying? You know, what he did was wrong. You know, I'm not sitting up here and saying right or wrong. There was a woman involved, so I'm not going to get into all that. What he did was wrong. He knew it was wrong. So I think it's up for him as a man to understand what he did wrong, live and learn from it, and let it go. One of the things that I always told my people, don't be scared or shy to tell me no, because, you know, I check my pride in at the door. You know, I'll thank you later, you know, when I'm not behind bars or when I'm, you know, still on a football team. A lot of these guys don't realize that they're being watched under a microscope, and they don't realize it until it happens to them and they're out of a job.
All right, Whitlock, is Randy Moss the right guy to mentor Jameis?
I don't have a problem with Randy Moss mentoring and offering some advice. Randy Moss has been through a lot of things throughout, all the way from high school through the NFL. But I don't think he's the right mentor, and that's not a shot at Randy Moss. Jameis Winston's a quarterback. He needs a quarterback as a mentor. It would be great if Doug Williams worked for the Tampa Bay organization and Doug Williams could be his mentor. Or Steve Young, somebody, Brad Johnson, the former Tampa quarterback. He needs a quarterback as a mentor because he needs to learn how to conduct himself as a quarterback. But I think Jameis has done so much and been involved in so many controversies that I'm not sure if quarterbacks really want to take that risk. Because who wants to be answering the kind of questions that Jameis raises about himself? And so it's not surprising to me that someone like Randy Moss has stepped up, I think, admirably and trying to be his mentor. But I'm not 100% sure it's the right fit.
Yeah, it kind of works for me. Randy had some maturity issues early. And when Randy walks into the room among football players, he is magic among basketball players. Like football people, maybe the most talented player in league history. And I think Randy carries a lot of weight in the football world among offensive players. Now the defensive side could be Ray Lewis that walks into a room and everybody's like bowing down. But on the offensive world, Randy Moss carries Magic Johnson level like esteem. And I think he can move the needle and he can get Jameis to listen. I mean, you could bring in a pastor. You could bring in a perfect person that had no problems in his career. Does Jameis relate?
Well, I think you mentioned the religious aspect, I think Jameis would relate to somebody coming from a spiritual point of view and that background. If you understand anything about his parents' background and growing up in the South, I think what Randy's doing is admirable, and I'm glad he's doing it. I think publicly, this guy needs a quarterback as his mentor, and the kind of advice he needs to be coming from someone who handled the spotlight a bit better than Randy Moss did.
You know what? It's interesting you say that because we all know Randy's situations, and he had. The two times where he was at his best were for two teams. One, Minnesota. One, he had Chris Carter, but anybody remember the quarterback? Warren Moon. And then New England. Who was the other mentor? Tom Brady. So what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. I think Randy will definitely help him. But Randy even kind of said himself, hey, all I can do is give him advice. It's up to him to take it. But the part that when Randy was at his best, he had two very well-known, very established quarterbacks that helped him keep him in line.
Thing is, I was fortunate enough to be with Moss when he was in Oakland, and he had an unbelievable understanding of football knowledge, and he's very smart. He's very intelligent, but he's a grown man, number one. Like, Moss is a grown man. He's been through everything. So I think just from the short dealings I've dealt with Jameis Winston, from very, very small dealings with him, but I see the similar picture that this kid's, you know, he wants to be a man. He wants to be the big, you know, big-time guy. And Moss has been through it all. Like, he really has. Like, he get kicked out of Notre Dame, you know, Florida State. You know, it's crazy when he had to grow up so fast and so young. Well, this guy's made similar mistakes. You know, mistakes that he shouldn't be making. But Moss ended up growing up, and he did. And I know he had some guys help him along the way. So I like the fact that he's reaching out to him. You know, I hope he's successful with him because the guy's got so much talent. You know, and again, it's just a maturity thing, like you're mentioning, Jason. I mean, he's just got to mature.
You know, it's a bummer because Jameis, his passer rating last 3 years, up. His completion percentage, up. He was kind of starting to find it. he was being more consistent. And I've always thought he kind of reminded me of Eli Manning. Big body, not super mobile, throws a beautiful ball down the sideline, sometimes a little inconsistent off platform. But there are moments, you watch Jameis, he battled Matt Ryan last year in a Monday night game or Thursday night game. I was like, holy. Yeah. And there are times with Eli, you're blown away. The disappointing thing is I think as a football player he was getting better, and I thought as a person Jameis was maturing. And then there's this major step back.
Yeah, I think, I'll go back to your point about who could relate to Jameis, and I'm going to go back again. When I look at his problems off the field, there needs to be a spiritual awakening for this guy, in my view. I think the issues he keeps having keep pointing to a moral failure, and to have those in your 20s under this type of spotlight, you know, he could use a little Tim Tebow in his life, and I'm not suggesting him as a mentor. but Mark, I think when you said Warren Moon, I think Randall Cunningham is the quarterback you were actually referring to in Minnesota, and I think you're right about that as it relates to Randy Moss. But I just think Jameis needs a spiritual awakening. And so maybe the more I think about it, Tim Tebow would be the right guy.
A Gator helping a Seminole. I don't know.
That would help.
I've been mossed before. I'm glad they didn't find that highlight, but I got mossed before.
All right, welcome back to the show. Rob Ryan and Mark Carrier are back. Let's move to Pittsburgh, where Antonio Brown turned 30 this week and is well on his way to one of the most prolific careers ever by a wide receiver. Brown is just the 7th player to record 600 catches and 9,000 yards before the age of 30, and his numbers at this point in his career actually stack up pretty well to a guy who has long been considered untouchable, Jerry Rice. With Brown actually topping Rice in receptions and yards, but lagging well behind in touchdowns. Cowherd, is Antonio Brown actually on Jerry Rice's level?
Yeah, from the eye test he is. You can't compare stats and eras. First of all, Jerry Rice was in the perfect system. Joe Montana, an offensive pioneer. I mean, it was a perfect time.
Bill Walsh.
Yeah, I mean, they were ahead of the league. Whereas Antonio Brown is a defensive-minded head coach. Doesn't have as accurate a quarterback, has more of an over-the-top Big Ben quarterback. The culture's different in Pittsburgh. And it's a different era. So, I mean, when I watch the games, I don't need to say, you know, it's like Michael Jordan, LeBron. LeBron's bigger, stronger, faster than Michael Jordan. That's what my eyes tell me. He's bigger, stronger, faster than Magic. When I watch Antonio Brown and Jerry Rice, Antonio's faster, his hands are as good, his routes are as good. He just doesn't have the system, but my eyes tell me that's as good a receiver as I've ever seen in my life.
I would agree with you there. When I watch Antonio Brown, what I see is an unstoppable force. And it doesn't matter what the defense does. It doesn't matter who he's playing. Antonio Brown's going to get his numbers. He's going to make his big plays. That's what I always felt like with Jerry Rice. It didn't matter who was playing him, what the coverage was. Jerry Rice at some point was going to punish the other team and impose his will. That's what I see from Antonio Brown. It's very hard to do that at the wide receiver year after year after year after year. Antonio Brown's been able to do that. Now look, he needs to win a Super Bowl to really establish himself on Jerry Rice's level. But as an individual performer, I think he's every bit the player that Jerry Rice was, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Now, having the pleasure of playing against Jerry, I never got mossed by him. But anyway, coaching against Antonio Brown for about 6 years, being in the AFC North, I agree with Colin. You can't, different times, throw that out the window. Just throw it out the window, because you can't count on that, because it's just two different type of eras in systems. I think Antonio Brown is pretty good. I really do. Do I think he's Jerry Rice? I have to say no. I think he's exciting. I think he's dominant. He's a game changer. But now, having had to defend him a few times, we took him away, and we knew how to take him away, because at times you can get after him and he would cower down. Jerry Rice never did that. Every play, whether run or pass, he got after it. Antonio Brown didn't always do that, and there's film to show that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is fantastic. He tilts the coverage. You have to have a way to take this guy away. It's just like the argument, you know, you've had today's athlete, you know, to me, back in that era, like you say, Jerry Rice played 20 years in the NFL. I mean, this guy's got another 10 years to go at least to be compared to him because he was great for all those years. Even when he was in Oakland, he was still great. I mean, it was amazing. So, you know, he's got a long way to go on the longevity, but when you're picking older players, it's like saying, well, so-and-so is better than Walter Payton. I'll always say Walter Payton's the best because I grew up with Walter Payton. I saw him, how he blocked, how he caught the ball, how he ran. This guy was always tremendous, you know, Rice. He'd always score touchdowns. That's one thing he always did. Before anybody made a huge red zone TV thing, this guy lights it up 10 times more than everybody else. So, you know, Antonio Brown's probably, he's in the top 2-3 receivers in today's game. Yep. But Rice was #1 back when he played.
I agree.
I had somebody that played for the Raiders that guarded Jerry Rice in his heyday. It was a safety. He said the most amazing thing about Jerry Rice is you almost knew what the pattern was going to be. The Niners ran about 12 plays out of 16 sets. Yeah. You could know what the play was with Jerry, but his routes were so precise, and Joe was so accurate, you couldn't stop him. The argument Mark makes, if you knew the route Antonio was running, you'd have a better chance of stopping him.
The argument you just made, I find fascinating because I think basically what you just said is Antonio Brown's not quite the competitor that
I agree.
Jerry Rice was.
Jerry Rice is
competed on every play, run, blah, blah.
Every play.
Here's what Antonio Brown's supporters would say. Jerry Rice wasn't a factor on special teams. Antonio Brown is.
Yes.
He's a factor in the return game. And Jerry Rice had no impact, I don't think, on special teams. Didn't have that kind of speed. I don't think he was that type of player. But your point about competitor is a great point that I hadn't thought of. You kind of swayed me there. I think it's similar to go to Colin's favorite subject he already went to. It's like my argument with LeBron versus Michael Jordan. Yeah. I just don't think LeBron's quite the competitor that Michael Jordan is.
That's fair.
That's kind of the argument you're making here. All right, to another guy we may never see the likes of again, Cam Chancellor, who recently announced that he would be leaving the game after scans revealed his neck injury from last season had not healed. According to former Vikings general manager Jeff Diamond, Chancellor could be the last of a dying breed, writing, quote, "If I were a GM today, considering what has happened to players like Chancellor, I would be nervous about drafting or signing hard-hitting safeties. The current rules are such that these players are more prone to suspensions for illegal hits, and they're likely to miss time due to injuries." All right, Cowherd, are safeties still as important in the NFL?
They're not. They've been marginalized. Analytics are changing sports. Centers used to be the league. Centers have been marginalized. If you can't shoot a three, you can't be on the floor late in games. In baseball, it used to be about starting pitching. That's been reduced. It's now about bullpens. Get a guy off the mound at 5 2/3 in. In the NFL, man, it's 4 wide. You can't have a 238-pound thumper back there. If you go 4 wide, who's he guard? Like Earl Thomas is rare. He's a sideline-to-sideline guy. I grew up with Troy Polamalu. I mean, I grew up with safeties that weren't even Dick Anderson of the Dolphins. I'm going old school.
Nice.
If you had decent eyes, if you could thump, you could have. Now you got to run. You have got to run in space. And I think the big hitting guy, he gets called for a penalty. He ends up in a spot where there's somebody he can't man up against in space. It's being marginalized.
I think I want to be careful to say the safety position. There's a style of safety that Jeff Diamond's talking about, the Steve Atwaters of the world. They're done. They're going to have to go play linebacker. Cam Chancellor, if he came into the league now, he'd be some kind of weak side linebacker, I would imagine. But if you can be Ed Reed, if you can be Earl Thomas, there's always going to be a place for you at the safety position in the NFL. I don't think the position has become irrelevant. I think the hard-hitting, 6'3", 200, should be linebacker. I think that guy is being eliminated.
Well, being the only safety in the group here, and I think it's the most important position there, Colin, but that's me by Cam Chancellor can still play in this league, and I'm curious what Robbo's going to say because you're right. Going out and you go out and scout college players now, there's no more linebackers 230, 240. Those don't exist because you got to cover the whole field now. And the way to your point, you got to be able to cover the whole field. So you got 4 wide. So it's all about matchups. It's all about how you get matchups, what teams do, and taking advantage of it. Cam Chancellor still can play in this league and be available. I mean, just like with the Rams, they're done with their safety. From Alabama, they moved him to linebacker, and he can do the same thing because you don't have to take him off the field. The problem will happen with no huddle, you can't get off the field, you can't change out. So that brings up personnel problems, where the matchup problems, where you get a lot of drive Robbo guys like that nuts because you can't match up with those personnel. But he can. Yeah. He can play.
He is a great football player.
Yes, he is.
Oh, this guy, I mean, if you had to pick one guy who epitomized that Seattle defense back in the heyday, it's this guy. We played against them at their place several times. I was on several different teams, and every one of them was scared to death because they looked out there. Hell, I was scared, and I was on the sideline. I looked out there, and I saw that guy. I'm like, God almighty, who is that? Well, that guy scared the hell out of everybody. But they would drop him in on those 3-by-1 sets inside, and he'd knock out a guard, on a pull and hit the running game. Anything inside, forget about. No one was catching the ball all day. So he still tilts the field that way. Do you want him in a one-on-one matchup outside like you're saying against 4 wides? Absolutely not. But you do want him inside because he will scare the hell out of them, and he's big enough and smart enough to get where they're going with the football. I love the way this guy plays. I think nobody on that Seattle defense was more impressive than this guy back when he was healthy. He made their defense great, in my opinion.
You know what? What he is, Jason, is intimidating. Oh. And catching a football over the middle
you're not going to do
is
it.
mental as much as physical. There is a
the rules
place.
help you, but you're not doing it with him back there, I promise you.
He got a lot of drop pass. Seattle, people dropped the ball against Seattle's defense. They didn't want to get hit.
Yeah, I know, but because of the flags now, I think guys are less scared of going over. Everybody goes over the middle.
They are going to go over the middle. I won't go in the middle with that guy, I promise. I won't even warm up. But the thing is that position definitely coming down? Yeah, like you say, get safeties that can run and cover. Derwin James still got drafted in the first round. He'll knock your teeth out, but he'll also cover you. So that type of style is in vogue. Remember, Roy Williams was a terrific player, and Parcells said back then that position was being eliminated. So it's been a course, of time, but then all of a sudden Chancellor comes in. But, to say that you're not going to look at a guy. I agree with you, Mark. I think you're going to move him inside backer, something like that, since everybody runs, runs to the sideline anyway in a running game.
What made J.J. Watt special? He could be inside, outside pass rush. Cam is the kind. It's so funny. I was at you do those pool things in Vegas, right? You go to pools in Vegas. Yeah. I've been to one in my life, and Cam Chancellor was there. I've been to one in my life, and Cam was there.
Did you get scared?
But the amazing thing was he was slight, and I'm like, he's such a thumper. And I saw him, and I'm thinking, how is Cam? It leads me to believe that Cam could play different games. He's long. He's athletic. A lot of what makes Cam is upstairs. He loves to punish. But if you told Cam, I want less punishing and more this, he is a long, angular athlete that makes football plays.
He can defend running backs and tight ends, but you just don't want him anywhere on any wide receiver.
Well, everybody still has running backs and tight ends.
But that just goes without saying. You don't never want that. And having been the guy talking about the game who's been suspended 3 times, one still pending, thank God I'm not playing, you do have to change your game. I mean, I got suspended 3 times for hits. And if you don't do it, they can be very detrimental to your team.
All right, welcome back. Joined now by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to the Lakers. Fun subject. A lot of people gushing after they landed LeBron in free agency. I'm one of them, but not everybody is so impressed by the signing. Former Laker player and exec Jerry West, now a consultant for the Crosstown Clippers, says landing LeBron wasn't exactly a challenge for Magic and Rob Pelinka, explaining, quote, all due respect to the Lakers who handled everything well, but as these things go, LeBron was on a tough free agent signing. LeBron wanted to come to L.A., and he wanted to come to the Lakers, period. He has family he's thinking about, home here, as a son who he wants to keep in one school in Los Angeles. Whitlock, you agree with Jerry?
1,000%.
Oh.
Jerry West is 80 years old, and when you get that old, you just don't care about anything other than the truth, and so you say what you really believe, and he's right. This was a rigged job that's been, everybody knew LeBron was coming here. It didn't take some all these narratives are being, oh, Magic showed up an hour early outside LeBron's door. Here's how Magic closed the deal. And it's all myth-making. It's all fictional narrative or something that's been told to make it sound like there was some dramatic reeling in of LeBron James when he was already going to do this. But again, I said from the get-go, LeBron came out here because Hollywood said they're gonna turn him into a bigger and bigger deal, and they're gonna try to make him bigger than Muhammad Ali. So let's pretend like, oh my God, it came down to the Sixers and the Pacers in Sacramento, and LeBron was sweating and he didn't know what to do until Magic came in and just sprinkled Magic dust everywhere.
Sacramento,
really. And LeBron decided at the last minute, oh, Magic, I think I'm gonna go to the Lakers. That's not what happened.
By the way, was Shaq hard to get here? Shaq wanted to be a movie star. He was the easiest signing ever.
That's what Jerry's saying. You just agreed with Jerry West.
Jerry West, Pat Riley are the two greatest recruiters in league history. Why? Because they're cool. They walk in a room. Jerry's 80, looks 65. Pat's 70, looks 58. Okay, Magic's the new guy. Magic is 60 and has the energy of a 24-year-old. He's relatable, he's a great communicator, he's fun.
But LeBron was coming here regardless. If you had been the general manager, he was
no way. If Jim Buss was running this circus like he was 3 years ago,
yes.
Oh, God, his sister kicked him out of the room. You think LeBron wouldn't kick him out of the room?
So,
okay.
Jason, we're talking 3 months ago, I tell you, LeBron's coming to a 35-win team that didn't get to the playoffs, and he's not bringing anybody. No Paul George, no Kawhi Leonard. You think he's coming? If Magic Johnson's not there? Magic's the only reason he's here right now. I mean, I totally disagree with Jerry West. Almost feels like sour grapes.
Let me just stop you. Let me just stop you for a second. I don't go too far into extreme. The only reason. The Lakers have a history. You have the city of Los Angeles. You have Hollywood and all these. He has two homes out here.
But that's been here for LaMarcus
He didn't buy
Aldridge.
the two homes. He didn't buy the two. Oh, Magic with the Lakers. Let me buy two homes in Brooklyn.
Well, no, but they had whiffed on Dwight Howard. They whiffed on LaMarcus Aldridge. They weren't even getting.
Dwight Howard.
Yeah, but then he left almost immediately. You know, they couldn't even keep Dwight Howard. I mean, Kevin Love, they wanted to recruit. He's like, no thanks. Carmelo, please come out here. I'm going to stay in New York.
They'd had a bad 5 years of free agent run. People were not considering them anymore. Mitch Kupchak had a wooden personality. Jim Buss was not capable. I mean, we forget here.
There were people 2 years ago on your website, Ty Duffy, writing, LeBron's going to Los Angeles.
Well, yeah, but
this isn't some thing that just came out of nowhere.
If it didn't come out of nowhere, how come none of these great NBA reporters broke it?
Yeah. Remember
how come his friends had to wait for a call from LeBron at Van Nuys Airport?
Who?
Maverick Carter, Rich Paul, said they had to wait.
You've bought the myth. You've bought the fairy dust that's being sprinkled everywhere, and you believe Magic was outside his home an hour before, nervous and into, oh my God, what's LeBron gonna do? I just don't buy. This is Hollywood, the land of fiction. This is what it is. That's why he came here, so he can be fictionalized into something bigger than what he already is. If you can't beat Michael Jordan on the court, come to L.A. and let the narrative writers in the Hollywood, the people with all these creative minds, come up with a narrative that, oh my God, something incredible's happened here. And when he gets beat by Golden State, wait till you see the stories they write. It'll be like he swept Golden State.
Oh, come on.
He got beat. All right, well, whether you're impressed with the Lakers landing LeBron or not, the team's other signings have left a lot of people scratching their heads. But now General Manager Rob Pelinka says adding guys like Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, JaVale McGee, actually that was all part of their plan to take down Golden State.
We play for NBA titles here. You guys know that. Irvin and I had a conversation, and LeBron echoed this sentiment that I think to try to play the Warriors in their own game is a trap. No one's going to beat them at their own game. And so that's why we wanted to add these elements of sort of defense and toughness and depth.
All right, Cowherd, Pelinka delusional there?
No, he's brilliant. First of all, the Lakers know they need shooters. They're not available on the market. What is currently available on the market for one-year deals is Rondo and Lance Stevenson and tough guys. This is part of a plan. Okay, if Klay Thompson was available, they'd make a big run at him, and they will next year. That's their big game hunting next year. You can only recruit what's available. There was a lot of quarterbacks available in the NFL draft this year. There wasn't the year before. There won't be next year. So what's available was Rondo and Lance Stevenson, competitive guys who LeBron has faced, who aren't intimidated, mixing in with these young guys.
And I agree with you. If a game of dodgeball breaks out, the Lakers are very equipped to take out the Golden State Warriors. They got tough guys that in a game of dodgeball, they will smoke Golden State.
How long have you been calling the Warriors suburban soft kids? 2-3 years now, right?
Yes.
So they go get Rondo, who's a tough, bad dude, who'll get in anybody's face, and they get Lance Stevenson. We know what he's done. I see no problem with this. I think this is a great idea. LeBron and Kyrie tried to outscore the Warriors and Durant. We know how that ended, terribly. The Rockets actually got tough guys. P.J. Tucker, Trevor Ariza.
Yeah.
Here's a great stat for you. Since Kevin Durant came to the Warriors in the playoffs, Golden State's 28-3 against everybody else in the league. They're 4-3 against the Rockets. The Rockets really played them tough with tough dudes, grimy, two-way players. I think
you are aware, though, that Trevor Ariza can shoot. And that P.J. Tucker knocks down 3 points.
Remember,
and Chris Paul and James Harden, they knock down shots.
But they play defense. Remember, they held the Warriors under 95 points twice in that series. Nobody stops his team.
By the way, we're a week into this. This is he didn't win in Miami or Cleveland first year. Everybody's looking at this and going, look at this roster. It's going to be different at the trading deadline. We know that Rondo and Lance Stevenson and JaVale McGee will probably be able to keep it in check from October, November, December. Let's say by January they're a headache. They're gone by February 5th.
And Kyle, I agree with that. But we've already seen the Cavaliers revamp their lineup in the middle of the season, and it didn't work out. And so I just think they're throwing away this season, and that's part of their calculation. If we can't get Kawhi, we really can't compete this year. Let's sign some guys that can't shoot to one-year deals, and we'll reassess in 2019. That's not a horrible strategy. It's only bad because LeBron will be 34 in December, and you've just thrown away a year.
34 is the new 31. Tom Brady, 41 is the new 36. If you take care of your body, those numbers don't equate to numbers in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to Major League Baseball, which suspended a Papa John's promotion after Chairman John Schnatter resigned from the company for using a racial slur during an internal conference call. Schnatter also resigned from the Board of Trustees at Louisville and had already severed his company's partnership with the NFL last year. Jason, what's your reaction?
First, I got to say he's a Ball State graduate, as am I. He's been a great supporter of Ball State, the athletic program, the entire university. He's been longer associated, or more publicly associated with the University of Louisville. I respect his passion, support of athletics. And I'm not sure if America has been improved because John Schnatter was in a teleconference, not talking disparagingly about black people, but giving an analogy, an explanation, trying to rationalize his comments about the NFL protest issue. I don't think the standard should be, oh my God, if a white person ever uses the N-word, regardless of context, they must lose their job, they must be shamed and demonized. John Schnatter is bigger, and Papa John is bigger and has done more to help athletics and a lot of people than this incident. Keep your head up, John. I still support the guy.
That's it for us. We'll see you tomorrow.